Good. We did it at the same time this time.
Perfect.
Okay. So welcome again to the Long Day Podcast, episode 3. I'm surprised we made it so far.
Yeah,
somehow. Yeah. So first point of discussion today is going to be True Geordie. I made a video about him on my channel, shameless plug, but he's been in some controversy recently, and considering we have someone here from his home country as well, I think it'll be worth a discussion. So
yes, I'm very interested to get into it. 100%. I'll just quickly start. So, True Geordie is a True Geordie. I'm not necessarily a True Geordie. I'm from the northeast, and I was born in Newcastle, and I do associate myself as someone from Newcastle, but I grew up just ever so slightly outside. But I remember when True Geordie rose to some form of fame, because I think it was about a player called Niall Ranger who used to play for Newcastle, and he was either saying he was shit. I think he was saying he was shit, basically. And I think it did the rounds on Facebook, and he started doing a bit of stuff in regards to the actual Newcastle Football Club. And then I think, in terms of building up a brand, he's like a level setter, in my opinion. Like, he's like a level that people need to attain to. Obviously not the controversy, but he's gone from just being some big guy who speaks on YouTube about football to being someone who runs an empire, in all honesty. Which is why, when I did see all of this unfold on what I think was Sunday night, I was left wondering how the hell he thinks it's a good idea to make comments like that on the internet in this day and age and not expect any backlash. And we had a slight chat about this prior to actually coming into the studio, but there are jokes from the past within the same vein, but he never actually caught any flack for that. It's the word you used was the malice of how he used it in regards to Andrew Tate.
I feel like the jokes probably wouldn't have ever caught flack the ones he made before if today or this week didn't happen. Like, we're in a quite interesting situation since you're obviously from Newcastle, you're in Northern Ireland.
It's like literally, like, the perspective here is literally a Geordie man, like, making jokes about a Muslim man, and I'm a Geordie man talking about this with a Muslim man.
Yeah, so, it works perfectly.
Yeah.
But, so for those who don't know, I'm surprised if you don't, the premise of the situation is True Geordie is talking about Andrew Tate, not in response or anything to what Andrew Tate said. Someone just brought Andrew Tate up in the stream. Andrew Tate has recently converted to Islam, and in response to this shocking revelation, True Geordie goes on to say he should blow himself up to prove that he's Muslim. And when I say it, I'm laughing now because it's so ridiculous. But obviously, when you see the actual clip itself, it did spark something in me, a bit of like hostility. Because I'm not the best Muslim, but I'm very.
You're a good Muslim, bro. I'd say
I'm not the best.
I don't know what goes on closed doors. But on the surface, mate, I think you're one of the best.
But like, definitely not one of the best.
Have you ever been to Mecca?
No, not yet.
Not quite yet.
Soon, inshallah. But as a Muslim, also, I identified with the joke a lot, and I saw it. We as Muslims have this sort of mentality as like a group of people that we really don't take shit, and you can always have this like sixth sense of like when we're being disrespected, and I think everyone in the community kind of like simultaneously was like, yo, what the fuck? Because usually in the past, when True Geordie's made these sort of jokes, you can kind of tell that it's meant to be a joke, that it's meant to be funny, so most Muslims can turn the other cheek, it's not that big of a deal. Well, in this sort of context where he's talking about someone he hates, and he uses his conversion as a sort of like weapon against him, and like uses it, says the joke in parentheses, it says the joke in such a malicious way that you can tell that like he is not meant to be a joke. He's genuinely just pissed off at Andrew Tate. And it's one thing to hate Andrew Tate, I think most people do. But it's another thing to sort of even judge him for his conversion, but it's one thing, but use that conversion against him is another.
Did you see Andrew Tate's reaction?
Yeah, he was pissed.
I think he's got a new Twitter account, but secretly, because the account it was posted from is called Morpheus Resists, which is obviously a reference to the Matrix, but...
I thought he said Morpheus.
Oh, no. Morpheus Resists, and there's too much real-life close-up videos and photos going on there for it not to be someone involved in his circle. So it's obviously ran through him.
I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on Twitter at the moment, isn't there?
Yeah, mate, that's a whole other conversation in itself. Mate, there's another thing we can piggyback off with Andrew Tate. I don't know if you've seen what's happened in the last hour.
No.
He's announced a fight with Jake Paul. Yeah,
really?
There's a video on Twitter of them face to face. Yeah, it's wild, mate. They both stood there in the iced out watches. And the thing is, I think it's going to be, like, in terms of these celebrity fights or influencer fights, I don't really take too much notice of them. I've never actually watched any of them, KSI or any Jake Paul, Logan Paul fights. They're obviously very lucrative for the people involved. And I do know that I think Andrew Tate's possibly trying to get himself back in. Not that he's gone out of the limelight, I think. I think he's even bigger now than he was. But I think he's trying to get himself back into the public eye. He's been back on Piers Morgan again this week as well.
So apparently it's just negotiations. It's not, but it's going to happen.
It'll definitely happen, mate. Yeah. This is the thing, like, Jake Paul, from what I've seen, actually isn't too bad of a boxer, but Andrew Tate's a world champion kickboxer. And Andrew Tate's not the type of guy who's going to go down for a pay package. He's got enough money. All the other people that fought have gone down for a pay package. So the only way I can see it going is Andrew Tate obliterating Jake Paul or letting him sort of have a bit steam at the start, and then Andrew Tate just devours him at the end. But me personally, like I said, I'm not into these celebrity fights, but I'll be watching this one 100%. I'd love to see this one.
I think that's a topic we should go into later, because I was about to talk about it and I realised we'll probably go on for hours.
Yeah, mate, literally.
So okay, we'll go topic by topic. We'll start with the True Geordie stuff, then we'll go to Twitter.
I've jumped the gun.
Elon Musk, and then we'll go to Andrew Tate and his love session with Jake Paul. So. Yeah, I mean, with True Geordie, the main thing is the intent behind the joke wasn't the best. And I feel like the apology made it even worse. Watching that, I feel like, I don't think there's a single person who watched that apology and felt like they were being apologised to.
Oh, mate, I've only just properly seen it, like, 20 minutes ago, and he's going on about his mum, or his mum, sorry. This is what London's doing to me. I'm taking away all my Geordie aspect. He's saying like and subscribe at the end. Yeah. He's clearly trying to put on some form of melancholic mood where he's like sat there with his head in his arms. I really don't think it's sincere.
But the thing is, he starts crying, he covers his face, and then he uncovers
straight
his face
back up and he's fine. Yeah. I think it's a thing as though, like, in terms of apology, he had to make an apology video. He just had to, and I feel like if it's not sincere, like, the actual main thing that he had to do was actually come out and apologise. But mate, he's lost loads off the back of that.
You also lost the pop filter.
Yeah, I just lost the pop filter, so we're just going to run it no pop filter. It's a good song, by the way, by Mac Homie and the God for Him, no pop filter. So the thing that confused me the most about the whole True Geordie situation is the fact that he is in this position of power, that he has this humongous platform, the sponsors he gets with the kickoff, which he does for the Premier League every Saturday, I believe, and all of the shows that he does on YouTube. I mean, he's got Gymshark, he's got a betting company, he's sponsored by, I think, a few sports companies, mate. He's making millions. And for someone with that platform, though, like...
Yeah, I mean, not to disturb you, I just say the right preposition now? The right word now is was sponsored.
Yes, yeah. But,
yeah, he's but.
Well, I was talking in a prior sense, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, he has all these things, and he should be aware that one false move will get you totally taken off the face of the earth by them, because as much as obviously some people might be able to understand the perspective or look at it from one side or the other, when it comes to business, you've got Gymshark and all these big companies who at the end of the day, they rely on themselves rather than the influencers they associate with. That's just a way of getting their brand out. But they're not going to be any worse off getting rid of True Geordie in regards to actually still sponsoring them, you know what I mean?
Well,
it's only going to do...
just an instrument.
Literally, mate, literally. So they're going to drop him. They were always going to drop him, and everyone's dropped him now. And I've seen people, the people on his show, the kickoff. You've got Adam McCullough, who is a Southeast Asian, like I believe he's a Muslim, and he's stepped back from the show. He's actually said that it's like he knows him well enough to know that it was a mistake, but he said that he feels that he has to step back from the show and whatnot. But I think it's gonna. I wonder what it's really gonna do for long term his brand. Obviously, it's not gonna be good, but I wonder if he's gonna reach any heights again, because I don't think he's gonna disappear. Doesn't look like he's going to disappear off the face of the earth, but I just wonder how somebody in that position with that sort of life set up now after years of grinding, how can he allow himself to just drop, because mate, you've got to know that was a mistake the second you said it. Like, but he seemed to not know. He had conviction when he said it. It was hostile, like you said.
I mentioned in the video I made about it. He says the joke wrong to start off with, because he says, I'll blow myself up and take Andrew Tate with me. He said the joke, he delivered the punchline wrong. Then he pauses, thinks, and then says it again, but says it properly this time. It was like, you had an out.
Exactly, literally. I mean, the thing is, like, as someone from Newcastle, I know the attitudes that go on there. And I always look at race, not racism, any sort of, let's say, not necessarily woke stuff, but any sort of jokes that play the line. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. I understand it because I know where I'm from and I know the attitudes, and I don't necessarily look at people badly for it. I almost pity them for these viewpoints, because I read in a book, actually, this philosophy book, that you should look at people like that the same way maybe as you look at people who aren't in the best position, maybe in terms of a disability or something like that. You should pity them rather than hate them, because you got to understand the situation in their circumstances. But I just don't understand. I truly don't understand how you can, first of all, say it in general when you know you've got that platform, but then actually just go forward and release it, and you've got a whole PR team, and they're just happy to allow it. They've done it to themselves, mate.
I mean, 100%. To be fair, when he said the joke, it was a live stream.
It was a live stream.
Yeah,
but there you go, it's still on his back, though, you know what I mean?
The apology was... The thing is, I could have forgiven him if he apologised properly.
Yeah.
Right? And I would admit that him getting dropped by everything is a bit unfair. But after that apology...
I don't think it is unfair.
After that apology, it's not unfair, because he had an opportunity. He edited that. Well, obviously he didn't edit it.
Yeah, but he had your.
He recorded it, edited it, probably scripted it as well.
Of course.
And he put that out there, knowing that is probably one of the worst YouTube apologies. And he's no stranger to YouTube apologies. I mean, his big video was him going off at Logan Paul.
100%,
in response to his apology. Like, he's no stranger to
he
it.
Sits
and
on the moral,
commentator as well.
Yeah, he sits on the moral high ground all the time. I've seen so many times that he's taken that stance of, like, you're wrong, this is bad. But he seems to continually perpetuate these ideas specific to Islam.
Yeah.
And I mean, in this, I'm not saying that it was okay 20 years ago, but what I'm saying is, like, there's so much more awareness, and we were saying there as well, it's literally as Islamophobia Awareness Month.
Yeah, right.
Of all the times to crack a joke like that, not that there's a good time, but truly confusing.
I don't feel comfortable calling it a joke, because it's very clearly...
Yeah,
you can tell when the joke has, like, funny intentions. That's the thing, because, like, I reckon most Muslims wouldn't really care that much if it was a funny joke.
Yeah.
But it wasn't. It was like, there's a difference between making fun of someone and making something funny.
Yeah. And
I feel like the entire point of the statement was to laugh at Andrew Tate's expense rather than actually, just make a harmless joke. Because say, for example, I said this earlier, the joke was, oh, I bet the news about him becoming Muslim really blew up. That's funny.
Exactly.
That's like, okay, play on words, whatever, is not a big deal.
Yeah.
And then if he said after that, like, I still don't like Andrew Tate, but whatever, you can be Muslim, who cares? Because another thing that I mentioned in my other video, I'm doing a lot of shameless plugs today.
That's fine, mate, go crazy.
Andrew Tate being Muslim does not matter whatsoever. Yeah. Because if you don't like him already, him being Muslim isn't going to change that.
Yeah.
If you like him already, him being Muslim isn't going to change that. His points may be backed up by Islam now, but they're still going to be the same points.
Yes, yeah.
For the most part. And then if you're Muslim, it matters even less, because we have this philosophy in Islam where once someone converts, everything they did before in their life is null.
Yeah.
They say all of your bad deeds turn into good sins. Good deeds.
Yeah.
When you convert. So essentially, in the eyes of Muslims now, Andrew Tate is essentially a newborn.
But this is what I was actually going to ask. Do you think, and this is just throwing it out there because it was one of the first things I thought, do you think that Andrew Tate converting to Islam was a business choice in some regards? Because he always talks about God. I've been aware of Andrew Tate for a year and a half, something like that, and I do still consistently watch content revolving around him, and I don't feel embarrassed to say that. So he's always been someone who's followed God in some regard. But I know Islam is, of course, the biggest religion in the world. And if that's the perspective, I don't think Christianity's bigger.
No, Christianity's bigger. It's just more divided.
But I also don't think it's as strong nowadays. I think Christianity's a joke. You make a joke like that about Christians, and it's okay. But you make jokes like that about Muslims, and it's not. And it's because Islam as a religion still has huge weight. And in the West, obviously, religions died down massively, but it's in terms of Christianity, but it's almost been replaced with Islam.
Yeah.
But then you've still got the home countries within the Middle East and loads of Africa and whatnot. They're all Islamic, and their countries are still. I was going to say in some way revolve around it. The whole countries do revolve around Islam, don't they? Like
that is what their laws are based on.
Whereas Christianity, it's not the same now. So to me, Islam is the most influential and the biggest religion in the world.
Yeah. I mean, I'd say in terms of whether I think Andrew Tate converted for the right reasons, I'm in no place to judge, obviously. And as I said before, realistically, it doesn't matter at this point. Theologically speaking, it doesn't matter. Like, his sins are all wiped now. And even, like, just generally speaking, it doesn't matter. I still think I still think the same of him as I did before. But he's always been one to talk about God.
Yeah.
And he's always been appreciative of Islam. He has said some bad things about Islam in the past. But you can tell that came from a place of ignorance where he didn't really know that much. And I think considering the amount of effort he's put into learning the religion and like going on podcasts with like Muhammad Hijab, and like being like praying 5 times a day, etc. There's one thing to say it and there's one thing to actually act as a Muslim.
I wonder. Sorry, man, I just cut you off there, but I wonder because he was a big partier and a big drinker, so he must have given that up as well.
I mean, I saw a podcast recently where he said that even when he did it, he never enjoyed it. And like most days now, he doesn't have the time to do it.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I think as a Muslim, like, you're not really meant to party and drink anyway.
Yeah.
But I think as a person, most people can usually like get to a level of maturity where they kind of realise it's not fun. Like, most people don't actually like partying and drinking.
Oh, it's not good. It's dead, bro.
And people who tell themselves they love partying and drinking, they may well do, but usually it's because they have nothing else going on.
Yeah, literally, there's 2 ways to go about it. I've moved down here, and my attitude is I don't have to party and drink, because when I get to go and see my friends for a few days, every month or so, every other month, I can have a party and a drink, but with my best friends.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas I don't need to go out every night, because I'm in university, first year of university, stuff like that, to fill my time. Like, I said this to you the other day, last week, I had a heavy week. Like, to whoever listens consistently, last week in comparison to the first week, I was absolutely dead, and in comparison to this week as well, like, I was absolutely devoid of life, and I'd been out 2 nights prior to that, and then I went out that night, and Friday, and Saturday, and Sunday, and it wasn't because I was going out drinking, it was because there was gigs on, and I was DJing on one of the nights, and stuff like that. There was actual, but that's what that lifestyle revolves around, the whole sort of drinking realm of that, you know what I mean? That's culture. What you do, late nights and drinking and music. And I remember saying to you, mate, I feel like shit. The last few days, it's been a case of getting back to feeling good again. And there's no reason why you can't go to a gig sober. I've done it before and it's good fun. But it's one of those, mate, where there's the expectancy that you have to do it. But I know from my perspective that I actually don't really enjoy it. I only enjoy it when I'm with the right people in the right environment.
That's the thing. When it comes to partying and drinking, it's just an expression of like, it is self-harm in the sense that you're 100%. Poisoning your body.
Alcohol's poison, mate.
You're ruining your ears when you go clubbing. Yeah. But the reason most people enjoy it is because they're going with people and it's that social sort of event. So for a man like Andrew Tate, when he's got access to any sort of social event, he's got friends, he's got a family, etc., it becomes less and less important. So I reckon him going forward as a Muslim, he probably won't miss it.
No, I don't miss.
But yeah, I mean, to go back to the original question, I think Andrew Tate probably did it for his own personal reasons. I reckon he probably did it a while ago, and he's only come out to it now. But whether it was a good business move or not, it probably has turned out to be a good business move.
I think it's a really smart move, mate.
But I think if you go into that sort of, especially as a Muslim, it's never good to go in with the sort of attitude of everyone has an ulterior motive, especially when it comes to religion, because there's a sort of, especially with converts, they're always more pure than like born Muslims,
because they've lived that life before and they know the benefits of living this new life after. I still believe that there's a slight percentile there that revolves around public image. I really do. I think there's a massive market to tap into there, But again, I do think he will get a lot of positives out of it. So
But,
he's a very, very smart man. There's no way he hasn't thought of it. There's no way at all.
But as an influencer, as a businessman, almost everything you do can be construed in a way that is for public image.
Yeah.
Same with True Geordie. Like, for example, you could easily say that his apology was just because he got caught and it's not that he actually cares. And I would say to that, like, if there's no consequence or anything, there's no incentive to apologise in the first place. So whenever someone says that against someone who's apologising, I'm like, cut him slack in that sort of area because he has to apologise.
Yeah.
But I think in that sort of position, anything you do will work out or not work out in the realms of your business.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same with me on a lot smaller scale.
Yeah.
But it's the same with me. Like, part of me making, for example, the True Geordie video was that I really wanted to make it, and it was something I was passionate about. But also, when I look back on it now, really good business decision. It's like
because
I've got
the views, literally, mate. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's in terms of Andrew Tate, just on the subject. Do you think that he's gonna come back into the public light again? Because I feel like things have died down with him. There's more. The 24-hour news cycle's crazy, and obviously it's been more than 24 hours. It's been a few months now, but I know he's done a lot of podcasts. He went on Piers Morgan. Piers Morgan got ripped to shreds the first time for not allowing him to speak. He's just been back on, and it was a good discussion. And I think he's getting himself back into that line. I think again it was a very smart decision to go with True Geordie, mate.
Yeah.
Because I think with Twitter becoming what it's becoming now, and the promises of being an openly free speech platform, I do think Andrew Tate will come back in that regard. I think he might use that as a mouthpiece and piggyback off events like True Geordie to get his name back in that sphere. And I do think he'll come back, mate, because I just think he's got too much to say.
I think with the way Andrew Tate's going now, he's like, everything new that I've seen of Andrew Tate is one of those things where you can't make a TikTok about it and call him misogynist. Like, nothing he says nowadays can be taken in the wrong way.
Yeah.
So especially where he's now converted to Islam, there's a big divide in his life.
Yeah.
And I feel like if he does come back now, he'll have a lot more supporters than before. A lot more people will realise that they like him. And I think he'll sort of be a mouthpiece for like the upcoming generation of people our age and younger who sort of know what's going on when it comes to like propaganda and like, the media controlling us, etc. He'll be a sort of like leader in that sense when it comes to like knowing what's going on, especially with like Elon Musk with Twitter as well. I think Elon Musk buying Twitter is a very good thing.
Oh, it's definitely good. Definitely good. And I think that Elon Musk, along with all these other billionaires, I think Jeff Bezos is suspect. But I don't have enough to base that off, and I don't really know enough about him.
I mean, don't get me wrong, I don't like Elon Musk.
Really? I like him.
I think
he's a forward thinker, and I think you need them.
I think when, just on the basis of like his personality alone, like we know when someone makes jokes and stuff and tries to be like the cool guy who relates to the people when he's so out of touch. Like, I think if you're just honest and like say like, yeah, I'm a billionaire, I can do what I want, etc.
See,
I like him more. I feel like there's a veil where I can kind of like see it there.
Yeah.
That's the thing with Elon Musk. But I do respect what he's doing with Twitter, definitely.
I sort of look at it, I see a level of irony and sarcasm in Elon Musk's jokes. Like, everything he says is in some form or way sarcastic. I genuinely see it. Because I'm not saying me and Elon Musk are on the same wavelength, because I think that would be very ignorant to compare Elon Musk to me, an elite being. No, I'm joking. But I see this level of sarcasm and irony in everything he says online, especially, and I just think there's an image that he's putting out, and I don't think he's trying to be down with the kids in some way. I think it's genuinely just his way of expressing humour, and I think he's a forward thinker, and a lot of people just say, oh, he got a trust fund, and he was a billionaire and he's a kid, this sort of thing. He's built multiple companies off the ground, and he's never stops working, and in this day and age, it's probably not okay. It's probably not perceived as okay to take Kanye West's word as gospel. But I look at who he talks about as being the forefront of the future of humanity, and he always mentions Musk. And I see Musk very much in the same light as someone like a Steve Jobs, who isn't necessarily a creator in some ways, but he's a visionary. He's a visionary. Yeah, I genuinely see it, and I think someone like him is gonna bring the most changes in the world in the next 10 to 20 years in a positive light. And I think at the minute, rather than focusing on hard raw material type stuff, I think he's trying to fix the narratives.
Social.
That country, yeah, I think that's and thing is, man, he balances so much. He's trying to do space. He's trying to do underground, railroads in California. He's trying to colonize Mars. He's trying to change the whole social perspective online and with social media. There's so much going on in one person. Because the thing is, you can outsource work, but when you are the one who is an elite level being with a crazy level of perspective in the world and so much intelligence, it's hard to outsource work, in my opinion, probably. I mean, not that I know, but it probably is really hard, mate, because you probably sit there and think that's not how to do it. Do you know what I mean? And often I think that maybe these type of people aren't the type of people who can explain how to do something either. They just know in their head intuitively. And I think he's one of those who will take the race forward. And he's still young. He's only, I don't know how old he is, but he's not 50 yet. And I think your best work comes in the latter years of your life, especially in that sort of realm where you can only really draw from more experience from life. I think we'll see the best of Musk in 10 years.
I think Musk is the closest thing we have to like a Tony Stark in real life. 100%. I've always had a divided opinion on him. I think because the thing is, I think good things about him, and I can't shake the fact of like third world workers in sweatshops making his stuff for him and stuff like that. And like in that sort of sense, I think there's a level when you get like past a billionaire where everything you do is seen under a microscope. Yeah,
of course.
And for me, when I think about Musk, like it's so, I can't put into words, to be honest.
What it is, mate, I'll piggyback the back of that and I'll say, you're talking about you can't get past the third world country workers and stuff like this, but at the end of the day, mate, you own a MacBook, you own a phone, an iPhone, your shoes will be made by children in sweatshops from abroad, mate. I'm not saying it's okay, but it's almost like people pick and choose when they want to. It's like people pick and choose when they want to use that as an excuse to not like someone or something like this, but they're happy to use everything else. And often, mate, you don't even know what goes on. Really, it's probably a lot worse than a lot of other companies.
What I'd say with that is, with us as regular people, we take what we're given. Like, obviously, I would prefer that I do not wear shoes made by like a dying child in a third world country, but I need to wear shoes.
Yeah.
Whereas with billionaires like Elon Musk, they give what people take.
Yeah.
So they have a level of responsibility there where they sort of need to uphold a certain moral value, and what their morals are become a lot more important compared to the regular person. So, yeah, I mean, but I understand what you mean. Like, obviously, I can't stand on the moral high horse and say everything should be made in ethical conditions, etc. But
well, like going back to True Geordie, mate, like it's the same with that. Like, it's not necessarily what it was that they're saying. Obviously, it is in theory or what they're doing. Sweatshops, jokes, hostile jokes about Muslims. Yeah. It's more the fact that they, once they get to a certain level of fame or influence, that's when they need to be
careful.
Yeah. But it's about playing the line well enough to not become a puppet like a Logan Paul, or not go off the deep end and get cancelled like Andrew Tate. And I think some people play it really well, and it's just a hard one though, mate, literally.
Yeah, but I'd say, as far as what Elon's doing with Twitter, I think is really good, especially because how much of a cesspool Twitter is in general.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, obviously, it has been pretty funny in like recent days, because you know the thing about the check marks. Right? Yeah. So you got, for anyone who doesn't know, so you've got the verified badge on Twitter, which used to mean, well, years and years ago, used to mean that someone who is genuinely who they portray themselves to be, and that there's someone who's notable. And then it kind of, everyone kept on getting it, and then people who didn't deserve it got it, and people who did deserve it didn't get it, so it became sort of a joke. And now how it's going is there's a blue check mark, which you can pay £8 a month for, and there's a white check mark, which actually is like what's verified is supposed to be.
Really?
Yeah, so you'll see, like, for example, the UK government
with the white
check
mark,
or like even like Logan Paul, for example, with the white, it'll be like an official check mark. But then you'll see like a random like account like Steve 34 with a verified blue check mark, and that means that they show up higher in a timeline. They get more impressions, etc. So you kind of pay to win. But I think, first of all, that makes Twitter a much more valid business, because I've always thought, how the fuck did Twitter get money?
Yeah.
Like, obviously through ads and like selling data, but like an actual stable source of income, because also YouTube's got YouTube Premium, Facebook has, I think Facebook Marketplace takes a share of...
they'll take some form of shares, but they most... Facebook are worse than Twitter for data sharing. Facebook are awful for that. Like, Facebook must make billions a year just off selling data, because like half the world uses Facebook.
But I'd rather have a pay-to-win strategy where it's very clear where the majority of the company's money is coming from than something that's completely free but you are being sold.
Will you be paying for a blue check mark?
Fuck no.
I'm not paying for one, no chance. I've got one follower, so I don't need it, you know what I mean?
It depends. If I get to a level of influence where I feel like I need it, then obviously I'll pay for it. It's only £8 a month. I think it's less than that, actually, because it's $8.
Right. Yeah, so it'd be about $6.50.
Yeah, I reckon $6.99 is probably going to be, or $6.49. But yeah, no, I think it makes Twitter a lot more viable as a business.
Yeah.
But also makes it so you don't see a verified person and wonder who the fuck is this guy.
Yeah, literally, mate. Because my friend and I were talking about this on the phone the other day. Like, you see a lot of accounts who somehow have verified ticks, and they tweet out stuff that just fits the general consensus because it'll get them likes, and it's almost like they're trying to build up something that they're not. They haven't actually got anything to base themselves off. They're just a nothing person with somehow a verified tick.
And it's just the agenda being pushed forward.
Yeah.
Whereas now, obviously that still might happen with the official check marks, but from what I've seen, those actual verified accounts are usually just like information ones. Ones are actual businesses or influencers. It's not like, oh, this guy randomly just supports like left wing ideas. And he's got a few hundred followers. Let's give him a verified check mark. So yeah, I think it's a good way of like making sure everyone can be involved in the conversation if they want to make noise, just by buying the membership, etc. But also just with what he's doing about free speech and unbanning accounts and unbanning like shadow ban accounts, etc. I think is really good for like making it so there's an argument to be had, because for the longest time on Twitter, the main problem was you'd never hear the other side of the argument, and if you did, it would just be like drowned out.
Yeah, 100%.
So yeah, but what I thought Twitter should always have is something similar to Reddit, where they have an upvote and downvote system. Yeah. But then, you know how on Reddit you can sort by controversial?
Yeah, of course.
You should have that on Twitter, where you can sort by controversial and have upvotes and downvotes, but also as a user you can choose whether you want to see a level of controversy. So say, for example, something's just happened. But say, for example, True Geordie just tweeted out now that, I don't know, a message from Null Ranger, fuck Muslims, etc. And that becomes a controversial tweet, like 50 upvotes, 50 downvotes. Mm-hmm. Then you can put in your settings, once something reaches a level of controversy, you don't want to see it. To kind of keep your timeline clean. And, good for your mental health. So I know Twitter's been experimenting with downvotes and stuff, but I think that's an idea like that would really help the platform.
Really?
Yeah.
I disagree.
You disagree?
I just think Twitter. I honestly, I'm gonna almost go back on my words here. Not like go back, but I do think the net positives that'll come from Elon Musk owning Twitter are like unparalleled. I do think good things will happen, because I'd like to think that he makes good things happen. But I actually, first of all, don't understand what they can actually do differently on Twitter. I find Twitter fine. I don't see anything that
I hate the platform.
I love it, but I'm very, very contained, and I have one follower. I'm private, and I follow like 50 accounts that I want to see. That's it. And I don't put myself out there on a public level on Twitter anymore. And like I don't see the point. It's fantastic as a tool to get your words out, but it has validity to anyone's opinion, and the likes are like an overinflator, which is possibly why the votes could work in some regard, because like I feel like Reddit does have a better system of ranking comments in terms of relevancy.
But again, there's probably a question of mob mentality in that point, because you obviously like you'll have a bunch of comments, and then one comment with 2,000 downvotes, and then the rest of the comments. Yeah. So I know what you mean in that. I think as well with Twitter, I'm just throwing ideas out there now that anything's possible with the platform, which is really exciting actually, that anything can happen now. But I think a good idea would be somehow, you know when people make threads on Twitter?
Threads?
So they have one...
friends?
No, threads.
Threads. What's a thread?
So like, say someone has an essay to write out on Twitter, cancelling someone, and you can only have 248 characters. Yeah. They have one brackets and then the first message, 2 brackets replying to the original one.
And threads.
Threads, yeah.
Threads.
Yeah, threads.
Oh mate, not threads. The threads. Yeah, no, I love a thread. Yeah.
TH.
Yeah, sorry mate, that's my mistake.
My list.
I get you now. I know threads.
Yeah, but I've always hated those because it's just an excuse for people to like kind of put more than what's necessary onto Twitter. And I think the entire appeal of the platform when it first came out, when people actually used to talk on there and not talk about the news and stuff, was that you have a limited amount of words to express your thoughts.
Yeah.
Put it in a funny way, put it in a nice way, etc., and then put it out there, and that's it.
Yeah.
But now, like, especially since the character limit went up, people can just go on for ages talking about random shit, and that can.
And it just becomes an article.
And it becomes a bottomless pit, and then you have all of these like pseudo journalists who don't know what they're talking about, and usually like 15 or something. Yeah. Something to ruin the platform.
Me when I was 15, that's literally all I used to do.
So what I think is like they should make the ability so you can only tweet once, like in the sense like.
So rather than having an actual thread, okay.
Yeah, because that's what Twitlonger is for as well.
Yeah, of course.
But, like, I think threads are like ever since they got popular, and you have like the threads of like cancelling people or like journalists or like posting a thread about awareness to this sort of topic. It's just become shit because now everyone's thinking they can have deeper conversations and what's really necessary. And so I don't think Twitter should be a place for journalism or like news. I think it's way too simplistic for it.
Yeah. But the problem is with that though, right? So I watched this video the other day. Well, it just came up on my YouTube actually, and it was saying that the problem with everything is like back in the day in terms of markets, you'd go and colonise a country to expand your market. Yeah. And everything's been colonised now. Everything's got some form of democratic system. And marketplaces and whatnot, and the social media now is like different. That's because you don't have anywhere to expand your markets in a capitalistic sense. You have to move into the attention market, and the social media platforms going public, and they're now limited companies and they have to have growth consistently. So it's a case of like different social media platforms stealing your attention off other ones, and that's why things like Twitter have to look forward for these new features now. I think there's a bottleneck on all of these social medias. I think Facebook was perfect 10 years ago. Yeah. Instagram was perfect when it got stories, probably.
I'd say Instagram was perfect. like, you know, when you could see what other people were doing.
Oh, the likes,
yeah. You can say so and so liked so and so's post.
Yes, definitely, mate.
Yeah. When I was in year 7,
I missed that actually.
Post. It was horrifying. I actually like a girl's post. All of my friends can see. I'm like, fuck.
This is the thing though. Like, there's the argument that social media increases anxiety and stuff like that, mate. That is a direct result of that.
Well, I kind of missed that.
I missed it as well because I like snooping. But this is the thing. Like these apps hit their peak, in my opinion, 10 years ago. It's like with
Snapchat as well.
Oh, mate, 100%. There's very little you can do to add on to these things, and that's why every year they have to add a little tiny thing. It's like DLC, like I don't know, like say Fortnite. Yeah. Because of the attention span of like their player base, they have to release something new like every week, and that are like Call of Duty. Call of Duty was perfected 10 years ago, but because they have to release a new game every year in the life cycle,
there's no innovation.
There has to be but they have to have little changes all the time to warrant the new game. And like all it's done is like in terms of social media as well, it's just built up loads of pointless little features that in the end are almost redundant because 10 years ago it was better. Like I genuinely think all these platforms were better 10 years ago. So, but that was the biggest problem going public, because now it's like you need to grow in companies to go up.
I think something that I started thinking about after I watched The Social Network when you recommended it to me was social media would have been so much better if it was actually social. Like, obviously, for example, Discord. Like, with Discord, you have individual servers which have their own communities and they're a lot more, like, personal. Imagine social media, but rather than have Twitter for everyone, you have a version of Twitter for this university. And a version of Twitter for another university. Or, like, a version of social media just for this city.
Yeah, like, specific to it.
I feel like having social media were actually for community in itself. Yeah. Like, Discord servers or even Facebook groups would be so much better in the sense of actually getting people to appreciate each other. Yeah. I think the biggest issue that's come from social media now is that it's worldwide and that it's global. Yeah. And that anyone can have a voice in it. Because whilst that is good, obviously, for people having voices, a lot of people are fucking stupid as well.
Yeah, well, mate, it's like, it makes a lot of people's opinions more valid because of a like button. But there's this old saying, mate, opinions are like arseholes. Everyone's got one, and they all stink. And it's true, mate. 10 years ago, 15, 20 years ago, an opinion would be something you'd say to your friend or in a coffee shop with, family or at school, you know what I mean, or at work. Yeah. Whereas now, it's given people an inflated sense of self, because you can put something out on Twitter, and if you get 20 likes, you look like... I mean, obviously there's a better baseline for likes, but say you're just an average Joe, and 20 people liked it about this specific topic, it makes you start thinking that this is the right viewpoint. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And that's where it muddies the lines. I think the like feature maybe is something I would probably remove, in all honesty, if I was Elon Musk, because I think Twitter's supposed to encourage communication, but a like or a retweet is the most basic form of
mob mentality.
It's so easy to just see likes and just you know what I mean? Whereas if you had to reply to actually give support or challenge it, you'd probably get less issues would be, or issues in what was the word you used? Parentheses before.
Yeah. I said the wrong word, actually. I noticed them, but I don't
want to say it. Not issues in brackets, let's say.
Speech marks.
Speech marks, yeah. I don't think there'd be as big issues, because there would be way less to base it off, because the likes just inflate the importance of it.
I think rather than remove likes, I think a good idea would be to add reactions rather than likes. You can on Facebook message.
On a text,
text. Under a tweet could have funny emoji, angry emoji, etc. So you get more of an indication of the viewpoint. But I think the only reason I wouldn't want to remove likes is just because ratios are hilarious.
Oh, ratios are hilarious, bro. They actually are. But at the same time, they were funny. I think things peak and then things go on for too long, and it's the same with when we said when I said that these platforms almost perfected it years ago. Ratio was so funny for a year, and now ratio is still good, but sometimes there's the odd one that makes me die, absolutely die.
I think as much as I hate Twitter and TikTok as well, they're the two social medias that make me laugh the most.
Yeah.
Especially TikTok, because now that the For You page is because the For You page is obviously based on what you like and your humour. Without fail, every time I go on TikTok, if I scroll for 2 minutes, I'm going to laugh out loud. Which is something I can't really say for any other social media.
See, this is the thing, mate. Obviously, YouTube Shorts and Instagram Shorts, as much as that's their own form, mate, they're all TikToks. They all originated from TikTok, and whenever I watch them, mate, I get some really, really good laughs out of it, and there's some good content on there. But TikTok's the one where I draw the line. In terms, I would get TikTok, and I will be getting TikTok at some point in regards to marketing my music and trying to build some form of brand off the back of it. That's just something I'm gonna have to do once I get some hardware, and in the new year that'll be a goal. But in terms of just mindless scrolling on there, I mean, I could definitely do it. I'd get lost for hours, and I think it's weird because there's quite a few people like me in that sense who maybe draw the line at TikTok. I was watching a video the other day from a YouTuber called Lauf, Lawhf, I think he's called, and he goes to campuses across America, and he just asks a random question, he has a topic for the video, and he asks however many people, and they just give their opinion, the normal people. And he did one about screen time, and everyone's most was TikTok. But then there was the few people who always said, there was maybe 3 or 4 people out of 15 people who said, oh no, TikTok was where I drew the line. I was never interested in it. And I think there's a big category of people like me and them who maybe just never saw. It was almost like it was one too many. Do you know what I mean? Snapchat I've stopped using, but I think it has a very, very valid purpose. And in terms of communication apps, it's fantastic. I just don't like seeing everyone's little minute details day to day in their life.
I think it's Snapchat's a bit childish in my opinion.
See, I think inferior to childish. I look at it and I do think of it as when I was 14, 13, 14, 15. But at the same time, I do think the actual infrastructure behind it, the voice notes are second to none. You can even play them at 2 times speed now, which I found out last night when I re-downloaded it. The actual photo and video
quality as well
is brilliant, and it's a really good app, mate. But I deleted it for the reasons that I said that, but I didn't want to see all the little minute things.
I think it's too cluttered nowadays, because they have news and games and stickers and.
But, mate, this is what I mean.
Yeah.
Everything, too much. They go public and they have to grow, so they add things like that, and you don't need them, mate. Snapchat, 5 years ago was perfect. Instagram 8 years ago was perfect. Twitter 10 years ago was perfect. Facebook 10 years ago was perfect. And they went public. And now it's like you need to consistently show growth as a business. It's gone from a communication tool or a platform for sharing opinions to a business. And that's the way of the world.
I mean, the case can be made it always was a business. It's just this is like the extreme point of it where it's gone a bit too far. But what I say with like people taking TikTok too far, I used to be in the camp. I used to hate TikTok.
Yeah.
But I still do in a sense. But what I've realised is that with TikTok and Twitter and stuff, it's kind of what you make it. Yeah. Obviously, with the For You page, etc., is based off what you like. But there's also a case where I kind of realise now that the times where I genuinely like hate Twitter, hate TikTok, is when I'm not only mindlessly scrolling, but I'm mindlessly scrolling at things I dislike, like arguments, political things, etc. Now that I can go on Twitter or TikTok and I can just scroll and laugh, I don't feel that bad. And I think now that I'm a bit more mindful and just in times like I've grown up a little bit, I can kind of control my usage more. But I definitely I was in the camp for a long time, so I hate TikTok. And to be honest, if there was an alternative to TikTok, I would use it. Yeah. But
in terms of actually like these platforms, then I don't see them in a good light. But I know that in terms of someone who wants to create a brand as a creative, I need to use them. You don't need to, but it can accelerate your growth.
Yeah, I mean, like half of like the videos I posted on my channel, the only reason I knew about the topic or like knew that like this was trending and it'd be a good idea to make it is because of these two platforms. Yeah. Not even Instagram, because honestly the Instagram search menu and like search sort of like the Instagram discovery feed is shit compared to everything else. Yeah, I never find things on Instagram that I actually want to see.
Mine's really accurate, like super accurate.
It's accurate, yeah, but it's nothing that I'd want to scroll on.
Mate, I'm in the other camp on Instagram. Mine's perfect. It's just watches, football and music production. That's it. Like most people's have like loads of women and food and stuff like that. Yeah, but there you go, mate. Yeah, I remember when you were showing us, it was just women and food, whereas mine's like...
Mine's updated now. It's women, food, and Dragon Ball Z.
That's okay. So we've got to an elite level now.
Yeah, elite level now. But, I think there's a case to be made for and against all of these social medias, but I think the biggest sinner, I guess that's all I'm about to say, is Facebook. I think Facebook and Instagram, and WhatsApp, I guess, because that's under the same sort of brand umbrella. Those are like the devilish ones. Those are the ones where you realise like, these have literally taken over people's lives.
No, TikTok's worse. TikTok's worse for taking over the lives, but also, mate, when you agree to sign up to all the terms and conditions, you agree to let the Chinese government snoop on your phone. It's literally owned by the Chinese government.
That is true. This is indoctrination happening because I've always been against you. For as long as you know me, you know that I don't really like TikTok. Yeah. But I've always been somewhat drawn to it. So,
mate, it's you know what it is. It's future warfare. And you can't drop bombs on countries anymore, but you can use technology, algorithms, and social media to change.
You can brainwash them.
You can brainwash people. You can change their brains through their attention spans. Like all these young kids growing up, they're not going to have half the attention span of someone who's a Chinese student or Chinese worker, and you can change the culture and you can control the narrative, mate. Yeah. Like in one of my classes, one of the most important things we talk about in politics is the narrative, and they talk about like the political narratives. Mate, politics is pointless now. It's totally pointless. Politics holds nothing in terms of influence, in my opinion. It's just a facade, and it's a long-standing tradition that's almost needed because you need to have that front of a democratic nation, especially within the UK, which is basically our history. But everything in the world that goes on, whether it be people getting cancelled, news, finding out things, like announcements, marketing, it all goes through something like TikTok. And when the person who controls it and the algorithm and create the algorithm is from another country who, for the most part, are seen as hostile in China, it sets a precedent, mate, that makes you wonder what's the end goal. Because I know that TikTok in China is called Douyin. Yeah. And it's not the same at all.
It's a completely different app.
So it just makes you wonder, mate, what is the long-term goal? But that's a whole other conversation in itself, mate. Like, I do think that there's a few things that are going to change the world dramatically in the next 5. I think they already have, but I think it's just going to come to show as people get older. Because like we are at that point now where we've lived most of our lives without that technology at that level of influence. But it's the people who are coming through who are like 10, 11, 12.
They're going to be the interesting.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to seeing how that develops.
What's it? Well, we're speaking all this social media. Obviously, I think going back to Andrew Tate, I think the first social media Andrew Tate is likely to come back on is probably Twitter, now that Elon Musk
100%, mate. I think he already is secretly. He's got that account, Morpheus Resists.
Yeah.
And he's been going on that for a few weeks and posting a lot of content, but also doing a lot of copywriting on it.
Yeah.
And the photo's just some like overweight
it's
an overweight ginger kid, the photo, like the profile picture. This is what's confusing, mate, because literally like the photo makes you think it's just a random account, but then you look at the actual content involved and it's very, very specific and almost worrying how close a lot of the clips are. And it's always the first post of certain stuff. So if you go on here now, I mean, obviously the guys listening can't see it, but like it's very life-centric things.
I know this account.
Like just photos of Andrew Tate, TikTok,
wait.
him playing with a tiger, like things that are very like.
This is the Andrew Tate dick rider on Twitter.
Pardon, sorry?
Like, this is the guy who's known as Andrew Tate's biggest dick rider.
I don't think it's Andrew. I think it's someone.
Do you think it's Andrew Tate himself?
I don't think it's Andrew Tate. I think it's someone within his circle, because the content that's getting posted is so like close to his life. Not that I know what his life's like, but it's almost like it's being someone's like a cameraman following him around.
He's like a journalist for his
life. Like swear down, like the video in response to True Geordie was posted on that account. Like there's always just random photos. Honestly, I'm telling you, there's something going on.
It says parody account, but he's been around for a long time, even when Andrew Tate was still on social media.
Like there's videos of him just saying good morning, and it's just him swimming in the pool, and it's things that are too close to his real life that are relevant to him.
Who is he followed by? Because he only followed 95 people. And he also... So he follows Andrew Tate's old account, which he still has, I think. Yeah, no, that's a good...
I think it's someone close to his circle, and I think a lot of the people who he follows there's a lot of copywriting accounts there, but again, I think he's involved with them.
He follows a lot of private accounts as well.
It's very interesting, mate.
I've always just taken this guy as like the...
No, same, mate. I thought it was one of those random accounts, and then I looked through it just to see, and I thought this content's too... I can't find the word, mate. I'm looking for a word that's like too close to home. It's almost like someone is following him around with a camera, like it's his mouthpiece.
It's very ominous, isn't it? It's like...
It's super interesting, bro, and I genuinely think someone does run it for him. Or it's ran through him, and someone else is actually just posting it, but... Very interesting. But to segue.
But yeah, I mean, if there's any good time for Andrew Tate to come back to social media, it's now with his
literally
upcoming fight with Jake Paul.
Exactly, which I'm honestly I
who do you think would win?
It's Andrew Tate, mate. Every day of the week, he's a world champion kickboxer.
I haven't seen him fight.
He's just hard as nails. He's top level kickboxer, like one of the best ever.
I guess kickboxing isn't that. Obviously, it's not going to be that different to boxing.
Yeah.
But surely there's a different sort of stance because, kickboxing fundamentally is very
yeah,
different.
but just in terms of fighting as well, mate. Like, Andrew Tate's been a fighter for 20 plus years now.
How long has it been since his last fight?
It doesn't matter, mate. He fight every day. And Jake Paul, like, Andrew Tate's winning, mate, all day of the week, all day. And, mate, the numbers they're going to get off that. Jake Paul's a big pull anyway, but he's been pulling...
less recently.
He's been pulling good numbers off fighting against bum UFC fighters.
Yeah.
Whereas he's fighting probably one of the most famous men in the world still, and I just think people will want to see Andrew Tate fans will want to see Jake Paul get smacked about. People who don't like Andrew Tate will want to see Jake Paul smack Andrew Tate about. And I think that I don't
think anyone's going to support Jake Paul. I can't see people, even if they hate Andrew Tate, being like, I hope Jake Paul wins.
I think a lot of people will support Jake Paul. I think also a lot of people will just see them, like the idea of seeing them beat the shit out of each other because they're both people who I've seen in a bad light in the press.
But I think especially like women,
Yeah.
They hate Andrew Tate passionately to a point where I think they.
But they
would
don't really
support
know
Jake
why
Paul.
they hate them.
They don't know why. No,
They can't explain it.
because they don't. Most this is not just women. Like a lot of people who don't like Andrew Tate, usually they can't really think of the reasons why, and usually it's because the best they've seen of him is like a 2-minute TikTok. I don't agree with everything Andrew Tate says, but I definitely think he's overhated.
A lot of it is an act as well, a performance.
Yeah.
And I think since getting humbled with the cancellation, I'm not going to say he's matured. I think he's toned down his delivery and he's become a lot more astute and careful with his words. And I think long term he's going to be someone who continues to have a lot of influence. And I see him as a spearhead for masculinity. In all honesty, mate, I really do.
But I think they're two fighters who've got a lot to lose. I mean, if Andrew Tate beats Jake Paul, that puts his whole fight with KSI. Would you say it puts his fight with KSI into question?
I'm not gonna lie, mate. I really have no idea how it all works. I look at Jake Paul and KSI fighting, and I think that's bullshit, and I don't take any notice of it. Same with Logan Paul. I'm only interested in this because Andrew Tate is a world champion kickboxer, and I just think there's no way Andrew Tate, with the personality that he has and the conviction he has, would take a pay package to go down to Paul, or that he would pull punches to continue a fight. I think he'd go in there looking to beat him down.
I mean, the majority of YouTube boxing fights are rigged.
Of course they are, mate. Of course.
I can say that because I know why, but I can't say why I know why, because that puts someone's job in jeopardy. But they are majority all rigged. But I reckon between them two, I think it will be a genuine hate between them two. Well, they're also very similar in the sense that they both put up characters, because as much as I hate Jake Paul,
they definitely both put up characters,
they both put up characters which are very disliked, and they've kind of tasted the worst of like public dislike. But I'd say obviously Andrew Tate has a lot more integrity than Jake Paul.
Yeah,
but
Andrew Tate's built a whole career in life in multiple businesses off his own hard work. Jake Paul was on Disney Channel.
No, again, I want to be devil's advocate. I say Jake Paul has worked hard.
Jake Paul's built a fantastic brand and the character's good, but I think Andrew Tate and him, and I'd say against anyone else, I'd defend Jake Paul and I'd say fair play, he's done it. Logan Paul as well in terms of coming back, but I don't like Logan Paul. I actually don't mind Jake Paul, because Jake Paul, I like people who wind people up and get people on the angry sort of situation, let's say, and I find how angry people get about stuff that's obviously a joke and a character. I don't see how people can't see through the facade. I think with Jake Paul, the reason most people don't like him is because beyond the joke and the character, he's generally not a nice person anyway. Yeah. He was a bully when he was in school. Most people, when they account real life experiences about him, they say he's a prick. Even his brother, in most podcasts, you can see his brother's uncomfortable, doesn't really like him. Yeah. As compared to Logan Paul, a lot of people like Logan Paul. Logan Paul sold his soul, though.
He's all right. Yeah.
Logan Paul, a few years ago, was public enemy #1 and laughed at the suicide forest in Japan, and went in there knowing that they'd find people, and he got totally cancelled, and then he sold his soul to whoever the mouthpieces are up there. I mean, there's a video I saw where Logan Paul's talking about like Andrew Tate's speeches hateful, is like the rhetoric he uses horrific, and won't see the impact of what he says for years to come. And mate, the whole time he's reading off a phone. Yeah, and he gets told what to say, mate. And I mean, again, I might sound like Andrew Tate saying this because that's what he says and that's what people who within that sphere say, but it's true, mate. And I saw that video of him reading off the phone and I thought, there's something going on there, because it's not natural when you've got a whole thing written out and it's so specific. It's dangerous.
I think for me, because I used to be one of those like degenerates who would follow like these YouTubers and like watch their videos every day, etc., kind of be up to date. Yeah. And the moment I completely stopped doing that, completely like lost respect for both KSI and Logan Paul. Never really respected Jake Paul. I mean, except for his hustle and stuff, I don't like him as a person. Is when Andrew Tate got cancelled. Jake Paul, I can't even say Jake Paul, Logan Paul and KSI, they completely 180'd.
Oh, mate, 100%, yeah.
And you can see loads of videos in the past where they're either saying similar things to Andrew Tate, or they're complimenting him or laughing at what he says, acknowledging that most of the bad stuff that he used to say was a character. Yeah. And as soon as he's gotten cancelled, they completely jump ship. Yeah. And that's when I kind of realised, like... And then obviously knowing that the fights are rigged as well. Yeah. And then being disappointed by the most recent fight between KSI and Pineda and stuff, I've kind of realised that, these guys are just in it for the money. They're not genuine.
Of course they are,
people
mate. Of course they are. It's a business venture for them. And I don't blame them,
Yeah.
because the money involved is insane.
Yeah, because obviously the hope with YouTubers is that they're somewhat different from celebrities in the sense that they, with YouTubers, the difference between celebrities and YouTubers is that you feel like you know the YouTuber.
Yeah.
So
it's way
you
more
can
personal.
kind of trust them a lot more. Whereas now, having seen KSI and Logan Paul in that light, they're nothing more than celebrities to me now.
Of course, literally.
People kind of just sold their
They've
soul
become
to
too big, mate. They've become too big. They've got too much influence, and when you have that much influence, you need to, in some way, have control. Like, the people at the top need to have the control, and they'll have contract signs. They'll get crazy fees for just keeping their mouths shut on certain issues, because that's how the world actually works. Not that I know, but I just feel like that's how it goes.
Yeah.
And people are becoming aware of it. So, but it's interesting, mate. Everything we've talked about today, we came in this with no plan today, really. We just knew we'd start with True Geordie, and off the back of that, we've gone into talking about the entirety of
the YouTube scene in general.
Not just YouTube, mate, but YouTube, social media, cancellation, deplatforming, censorship in general. And I think there's a current trajectory of the world, mate, where something's changing. There's something changing, mate. You've seen it there's been mass cancellations in the last few months. Kanye, Andrew Tate, Sneaker on a very smaller scale. He's not really. He really doesn't.
I don't really follow Sneaker.
Yeah, but this is the thing, mate. Like, and then you've also got like Elon Musk buying Twitter. You've got the True Geordie thing. There's so much, and I'm not saying this didn't happen before, because it did, but I feel like there's a real shift happening, and I think there's something being accelerated, and I think it's quite clear that there is something at the top has an agenda, and that there's people at the very top of the business world who are working out, like Kanye and Andrew Tate, that there's this agenda to try and keep the people down at the bottom. They're sharing that, and then obviously there's a kickback where these people who are sharing that and perpetuating that narrative get cancelled. But then people at the bottom are starting to realise there's some change happening in the world in the next 5 years, mate. I'm telling you, there's something going on.
Tell what I think would be really interesting. Listening back to this podcast, or having like someone listen back to this podcast in like 10, 15 years.
Oh, mate, it would be so interesting.
Just seeing how different it is, because I know the world is like, you said before, the world is shifting. There is an argument to be made. I don't know whether it's shifting in just our perspective and like around us and like a real world and stuff. It's not really. It's about the same, but everything is changing in my opinion, and it'll be interesting to see where it goes. So,
like, mate, one more thing. So, the midterms are going on right now in terms of politics, and all the news is talking about that, but mate, it has no influence on the world, in my opinion. Politics like that, like democratic politics, it has zero influence, and I'd even say the people at the bottom of the food chain, there's less influence on them. The middle classes probably have more impact because of the high taxation and stuff like that, but it's the people at the very top who it affects, and even then it's so minimal. The narratives are controlled now by people like the media, mate. The media run the world, and then you've got the social media aspect of things, where there are people like Andrew Tate and Kanye who have a real voice, and then you've got Elon Musk, who's a massive billionaire businessman who's just bought one of the biggest platforms in the world. These are the things that really are influencing the world, not the midterms, not the UK getting a new prime minister. Those things are totally pointless. But if you watch the news, if you're a 50-year-old woman or a 60-year-old grandma, you watch the news, you don't know about this stuff, or you think that the prime minister changing hands 3 times in a few months is huge news. It is for memes and stuff like that. Or you think that the midterms, like the Democrats getting a better performance than the Republicans, you think that's huge news. But if you're really in the world that we're in, you know that stuff doesn't have any bearing.
It's a difference in perspective, honestly, and how you see the world. I'd say with social media, the biggest potential of it is for the world to run the media rather than the media to run the world.
Yeah.
And I think in that ideal sort of like situation where, say, Elon Musk completely fixes Twitter and then goes on to buy other social medias, whatever, the ideal situation with social media is just people controlling the narrative for once.
Yeah.
And like having a level of awareness when you know you're being sold something.
Yeah.
Which a lot of people have kind of lost touch with recently. So
yeah. Well, when we've become the product. Anything free to use you are the product.
Yeah.
So It's an interesting one, yeah. We'll leave it at that.
Yeah,
you are the product.
Very serious podcast.
Topical, serious, introspective, lots of depth. Good insight. I liked it, mate. A lot of good chat today.
We'll get someone on next week and make it a bit funnier, maybe.
We'll see. Nah. We might keep a straight face niche, or we might go comedic. I don't know. We can do it all. We're quite versatile.
What we want. So
thank you very much, guys.
Have a good rest of your night.
Yeah. See you later. Bye bye.
Bye bye.